Hi guys, welcome back to another off-the-record song tutorial. Today I want to take a look at The Logical Song by Supertramp. Let's see what we can learn from this. One of the things that defined the sound of Supertramp was the use of the Wurlitzer electric piano. And this song really exemplifies that. There's also synth strings, Hammond organ, an acoustic piano and a clavinet in the track. So let's take a look under the hood and see what makes this song such a masterpiece. The main instrument that carries the whole song is the Wurlitzer. So let's begin there. It plays an 8th note comping pattern pretty much all the way through. There's a 4-bar intro that establishes that basic rhythmic feel and the key of C minor. Notice the strong accents on the 1 and the end of 2, a signature element that shows up throughout the song. And then we get to the verse. It has a really interesting structure. The song overall is in 4/4, but there's a couple of bars of 2/4 in the verse. It's not easy to make that sound natural, but here they certainly do. So structurally, the verse goes 1 bar of 4/4, 1 bar of 2/4, 2 bars of 4/4, another bar of 2/4, and a bar of 4/4. That whole thing repeats, and for variation at the end of that repeat they add an extra bar of 4/4. Here's the chord progression of the verse. It starts on C minor. In the 2/4 bar it moves to A flat major 7. The next 2 bars are G minor 7 and B flat major. Then another 2/4 bar, this time with F minor 7 with the 3rd A flat in the bass. And then F7 with the 3rd A in the bass for the last bar of the first half of the verse and the last 2 bars in the second half. Notice that there's both triads and 7th chords here. To keep the voice count consistent, they double one note of each triad. So every voicing has 4 notes. This helps with voice leading. In terms of harmonic function, all the chords are diatonic in the key of C minor, except the F7, which we could explain as a modal interchange chord from the C Dorian mode. Now, what's the actual Wurlitzer part in the verse? The right hand is playing the chord voicings I just showed you with a consistent 8th note rhythm and, in the 4/4 bars, the accents on the 1 and the end of 2. The left hand plays a syncopated bass line that includes a few passing tones. Here's what it sounds like. And as I mentioned, the second half of the verse is the same except for an extra bar of F7 at the end. There are a total of 4 of these verses. Here's how they fit into the overall structure of the song. Verse 1, after the intro, has only Wurlitzer and vocals. In verse 2, the rest of the band is added. Then we get a chorus. After that we get verse 3, which is the same as verse 2 except they add an organ part. And then we get verse 4, which is also the same except there's a saxophone solo instead of the vocals, plus they add an acoustic piano part. That's an unusual placement for a solo in a pop song, right before the second chorus. And speaking of, let's now look at the chorus. The chorus modulates to the relative key of E flat major. This is probably the most common form of modulation, going from a major key to its relative minor, or the other way around. They share the same key signature and therefore the same notes, which makes moving from one to the other really smooth. Structurally, the chorus is much simpler than the verse. It consists of an 8-bar phrase that is then repeated. But the repeat also has an extension, just like the second half of the verse. In this case, it's 2 extra bars at the end of the first chorus and 6 extra bars at the end of the second. Here are the chords. Each one lasts for 2 bars. It starts on E flat major, then it goes to A minor 7 flat 5, then to A flat major 7, and then to D flat major. There's also a pedal tone E flat under the first 3 chords. 2 of the chords here are non-diatonic in the key of E flat, the A minor 7 flat 5 and the D flat. Now A is the raised 4th degree in the key of E flat major. A sharp 4 minor 7 flat 5 chord is pretty common in jazz standards. It usually resolves to 4 major, 4 minor, 5 or 1. Or it can be part of a 2-5 progression to 3 minor. In this song though, I find it more helpful to look at this chord in terms of voice leading. The first 3 chords are a beautiful example of oblique motion. That's a fancy way of saying some voices stay on the same note and others change as we move from chord to chord. So here the top 2 notes remain the same, and the main bass note is also the same. But these 2 voices in the middle move here for the A minor 7 flat 5 chord. This is such a beautiful move. Listen to how it opens up the harmony and propels the music forward emotionally. And then going to the A flat major 7 chord, only 1 note changes, giving us a feeling of partial resolution because we're back in diatonic territory. Then the D flat chord hits, another chromatic chord, delaying the inevitable return to E flat major, which finally gives us a full resolution of this 8-bar harmonic journey. The D flat chord functions as a modal interchange chord from E flat minor. At the end of the chorus, the D flat chord resolves back down to C minor for the next verse. And underneath all that, there's a little motif in the bass that goes like this. They adjust for the second chord, A minor 7 flat 5, by changing the B flat to A. And then they go back to the B flat for the third chord, A flat major 7. This is followed by a descending scale on the D flat chord, with some extra syncopation on the extension at the end of the chorus. And here's the whole chorus. The outro consists of a 9-bar vamp with a really awesome bass riff that's played by the bass, the Wurlitzer and a clavinet in unison. Here's the chord progression that goes with that. C7 for 3 bars, resolving to F minor 7 for 1 bar. The whole thing repeats, but on the repeat the F minor chord is followed by E flat 6, which resolves up a fourth to A flat major. Notice that there's an extra bar there that you wouldn't expect. It's another one of those surprising structural moves they bake into the song. And again, it sounds totally natural. Notice also the shifts in key center. Most of this outro is in F minor. And then in the last bar it seems to modulate to A flat major. That's the same relative major and minor relationship we've heard in the rest of the song, with the verse being in C minor and the chorus in its relative key E flat major. The outro mirrors that relationship, only a fourth higher and condensed into 9 bars. The right hand of the Wurli part maintains the consistent 8th note rhythm with a few syncopated hits in bars 4, 8 and 9. Here's the whole vamp. So that was the Wurlitzer part. Now I want to show you the other keyboard parts. They're much simpler and less prominent, but they add a lot of interesting texture to various parts of the song. The synth string part happens in both choruses and consists of a simple pad that plays pretty much the same chords as the Wurli, and then a melody in a lower octave that kind of mimics a cello part. Here's what it sounds like. In verse 3, there's a Hammond B3 part, and the idea is the same as with the synth strings in the chorus. The right hand pads the same chords that the Wurli plays, and the left hand adds a little mid-range melody line. It sounds like this. And finally, during the saxophone solo in verse 4, they add an acoustic piano part. This one's a little more complex. It's chord accompaniment, but it also incorporates elements of the vocal melody into the right hand part. And the left hand basically doubles the left hand part of the Wurlitzer. Here's what it sounds like. And there you have it. If you've enjoyed the video, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.